Hello and welcome to Hardcast, and join us for a cosmic tale taking place in Mother Russia. Again, my name is Humphrey Erm.
And my name is Chris.
Lifeline, give me Divinity 2.
I'm so used to having some sort of subtitle to those things. I was expecting you to still say something. Issue 1. We see what happened to the other two cosmonauts that Divinity left behind. We get a lot more info on Valentina and her upbringing. She and Casimir, the other cosmonaut, talk on the unknown planet about what to do and how to get home. Casimir is injured and afraid to die. Valentina, having seen how Abram got off the planet, decides to do the same. She gets the same powers as Abram and decides to kill Casimir for his energy to power the space capsule so she can get home. We get some more backstory as to how she was chosen for the mission and see her reaction to the information that the Soviet Union has fallen. She lands in Syria and makes her way to the president of Russia, Putin.
Yes, a correction. It's Siberia.
Oh, Siberia. Sorry, I thought Syria. Okay. Same difference.
Actually, I think there's quite a bit of distance between them.
Whatever.
Anyways. Back to, again, the more cosmic part of the Valiant universe.
Yeah.
I guess, I've said it already with the first Divinity. I just love the design and concept of.
Yeah.
Marvel and DC has so many things like that. DC has the new gods and stuff like that. Marvel has Thanos and similar things. But here's it's so cool concept, cool costumes, thanks to the fact that they're, these cool cosmonaut suits. And the way it just builds upon itself. Because it's such a natural story to come forward since we already knew there were, 3 of them in the first story. So it's so simple to have what happened to those two?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, didn't I mention it when we were reading the first one? I mean, it was so obvious that even I was like, oh, there's 3 of them. So, and only one came back. I mean, the other 2 must come back at some point later. Especially because they all had their own identifying colors. It was kind of like, oh, okay, they're all going to be coming back.
They're like the Ninja Turtles.
Right.
Yeah, no, that's just, again, just a cool tale in that sense. So, it's just a nice backstory for Valentina, who in my recaps have just referred to her as Mishka.
Right, yeah. I mean, yeah, I guess that is her name.
Is her superhero name? Shall tremble before the little mouse.
Hey, don't say that. There's a character called Squirrel Girl who's pretty badass, so.
That is true, but that's the whole joke.
Top 10 superheroes who could beat Thanos without even trying.
Yeah.
Have you seen that meme?
No, I haven't seen that meme in particular, but I do know about Squirrel Girl. Does it have that panel where she's with the Watcher?
No, that's not even, I don't even think she is. I don't think this is an actual real article. It's just some shitty meme where they just have one of those blogs that do those kind of things, and it's just in their kind of style, and then 10 superheroes or 10 people that could defeat Thanos with no problem. And it's just, they always take pictures of just some, I don't know, that there's shitty other things, whatever superhero from not, I mean, I haven't seen Quail Man, but people like Quail Man.
You mean the guy from Doug?
Huh?
The guy from Doug?
Yeah, the guy from Doug.
Okay.
So the joke is basically it's like these superheroes that are like these superhero personas from characters in comedy shows or something like that, like these really stupid characters, and then they put that in as they're the ones that could beat Thanos, that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah, but
That's the joke.
it's like those YouTube screenshots as well with like top 10 anime betrayals, and it's a screenshot from
Yeah, yeah,
Batman,
yeah,
or Batman from SpongeBob.
yeah.
No, but the fun thing, yes, to as usual, we go off topic. No, but the fun thing with Squirrel Girl is that there's this one panel. I don't remember which comic it's from, but it basically has her standing before a defeated Thanos, along with the Watcher looking on, who confirms that it
Mm-hmm.
is the real Thanos and not a Doombot clone or alternate reality like version or something. And the fun thing with Squirrel Girl, at least the original version of her, is she represents the Silver Age.
Yeah. Oh, are you telling me or are you telling the audience? Because I know this. You have been telling me this multiple
Oh,
times.
I have. Okay. Well, I guess our audience would probably know similar things.
Yeah.
All right then.
Well, I mean, you can still talk about it. I mean, maybe someone doesn't know.
No, no, it's just the kind of fun thing because it comes from a time where the hero wins regardless. And you
Mm-hmm.
could use that as a complaint about bad storytelling or formulaic storytelling.
Well, I mean, wasn't it just that kind of time because heroes had to be good and had to win without a problem, and there was no like in between. It was like right after like this time when it was like really horrible, right? So this was like what, the 70s, 80s?
No, no, 70s is what's called like the Silver Age, where it's just these silly adventures where they always win.
Okay, so it was before that.
And
Yeah.
the big part of it is the whole fact that like the creativity comes from, okay, who's the hero and who are they
Mm-hmm.
fighting? Okay, how can this hero beat this villain with her powers? And that's the like amusing thing because Squirrel Girl actually isn't like weak or anything. She has no, but she has super strength, can
No,
communicate
no,
with
I
squirrels.
just saw the panel because I didn't know the panel that you were talking of.
Mm.
And now I'm just looking at it, and the dialogue is just so horrible.
Well, just there to really like put in like, yes, this is real.
No, but like, I mean, okay, here's the dialogue. So the Watcher is talking to Squirrel Girl. It's like, congratulations, Squirrel Girl. By defeating Thanos, you have saved the entire multiverse. I wish I could have helped, but as a Watcher, I am forbidden to interfere. Hey, that's okay, Uatu. Still, I can't believe that me and Tippy Toe took out the real Thanos. Yes, Squirrel Girl, with my cosmic senses, I can confirm that is, in fact, the one true Thanos and not a robot, clone, or simulacrum. What?
Simulacrum.
What's a simulacrum?
It's some term for like a doppelganger.
Okay.
It's a fancy word.
Okay. Yeah, anyway.
But yeah, that's what I mean because that's happened so often in these comics. Where you have that's happened a lot with Doctor Doom because you'll have a writer who doesn't really what would you say, doesn't ride Doom's dick,
Mm-hmm.
so they'll have him be defeated by a quote unquote weaker hero.
Yeah.
Then a later writer who really cares for Doom will have to put in like a retcon pointing out that no, that was actually a Doombot.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, continuity ties your worst writer to your best writer.
Exactly.
But I mean, the thing with Squirrel Girl now is that it's kind of like a running joke. So the idea was that because Squirrel Girl was created in this age where heroes couldn't be defeated, she basically had the track record of never being defeated ever. Obviously, a lot of the characters that existed before the Silver Age, they still had on their track record that they had been defeated at some point. And so then they kind of just decided to go with it. And they were like, hey, let's just write her as this character that can never be defeated.
Exactly, and that's the thing. That's why I'm not too fond of like a lot of the current. Not that I've read her like seriously or so, but that's the problem when you then try to have an ongoing solo series with her, because it's like she's a joke character, and
Yeah.
you can't. I don't personally feel she can keep up a story with that same premise,
Yeah.
which is often why the new ones are more of this sort of funny slice of life stories, like her hanging out with her friends and more laid back plots.
Yeah.
Because I remember also way back during the first Civil War, because they had to do that whole thing to get Hulk out of the story, since whichever team had the Hulk basically would win. So that's why they did the whole Planet Hulk story.
Mm-hmm.
And then people were asking at that time, so where's Squirrel Girl? and that's where they said like, oh, she was busy fighting Thanos. And that's the thing. It's the joke part of it, and the fact that it's Squirrel Girl makes it charming.
Yeah.
Because would it be fun if it was some like like try hard edgy character like my name is Penance,
Right.
who is an actual character.
Oh, good.
Actually, who I unironically like because I didn't know about his like previous persona, so I didn't understand why people were mad when they made him into Penance.
Mm-hmm.
As we keep saying, this is proof of how good this book was. The more we babble about other stuff. So, but yeah, I mean,
Right.
this is just the whole start off with the first issue here. I mean, it sets it all up.
Mm-hmm. There's one. I'm sorry. There's one character that I want to talk about
Yes.
before we move this whole thing on, and I can't find it right now. Okay. Have you heard of Savage Dragon?
Yes, yes.
Oh my god. I only recently found out about him like this week. And he started off as like a totally normal character, right? I mean, he's like Image Comics, right?
Yeah, he was one of the first Image characters.
Right. So just a normal character. And now, do you know what kind of comics are?
Well, it's basically porn.
It's porn. He became. It's a porn comic, and the best thing is, it's within the same continuity. Like it at some point, the creator was just like, "Yeah, I'm gonna make porn now."
And I respect him for it.
Yeah. I think it's. I mean, it's fine, but I just think it's so hilarious that this, because it's like an Image comic. It's like one of these comics that kids would buy. I mean, obviously, it's in the same way like kids read DC comics and Valiant comics and stuff like that, where I wouldn't think necessarily they should, but part of me just feels like you have this superhero who's in a porn comic, and it's not only just a porn comic, it's just like I can just see it kind of like in the comic book stores. It's just with all the other Image comics, like hey, here's Spawn and Savage Dragon with two ladies on the cover, where he's just like, okay. And then I was kind of like Googling, like, because I couldn't believe this, so I was kind of Googling it, and then I found
For academic
like
purposes?
yes, for academic purposes, and just like the fact that he impregnates because he looks like a dragon, like he actually is like a dragon.
He's a big green guy with a fin on his head.
Exactly. So it's just weird because then he impregnates this lady, and then she gives birth, and it's just all like, it's just weird. It's really weird.
Well, have you seen the pages of when she gives birth?
No.
It's really unsettling because basically because of his genes, it's like like a baby version of him.
Yeah.
And if I remember correctly, it basically ruptures out of her stomach. And because he sort of is nigh invulnerable, the umbilical cord is as well.
Oh god.
So she's sort of like passed out from like the pain, and the baby sort of like crawling around, dragging his mom with her.
Oh, dude.
It's like really unsettling, but also comedic because it's like it's hard to know what tone you want with it.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Though honestly, as a concept, I find it interesting. Kind of like, okay, that's really creepy and unsettling.
Now I feel bad for bringing it up. Let's go back to Valiant Comics.
To a more wholesome comic with Putin in it.
Yes.
Though honestly, I don't know. I mean, I remember there was a sort of, as you said, there were like articles about it.
Yeah, but there was like nothing with him. He was just literally just like, "Hey, yeah, welcome back."
Exactly, and it's like, well, he's the current, leader of the country. When she comes back, it just makes sense. Like, were they gonna have a made-up one, or?
No, I mean, I think it's fine. I mean, I don't care.
Yeah, no, but that's what I mean. It's like it's kind of like, oh, and it's like, well, it just makes sense. It's like,
right. I mean, this is the same thing. Like, you also put Obama into, these kind of things too.
Right. Harada confronted him. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's just how it is.
But again, I mean, we've discussed this before. How that kind of makes me feel, or like how I feel like it's a little bit weird to have these like actual people, like real life people in like a comic like this, especially when it's about political stuff, just because you don't necessarily want to put a name or like you don't want to put words in their mouths. You know what I mean? It just feels kind of like, well, maybe not.
Yeah, no, but it's a tricky thing. I mean, again, this is we don't want to go into politics in this show. I think
Mm-hmm.
so, but it's one of those things here where when we consider with the next issue, they basically the writer here, Matt Kint, basically made a decision. Okay, the current Russian government gets a hold of Divinity 2,
Mm-hmm.
and this is obviously what they will do with her.
Right.
And again, it's what's called not impossible or anything like that, but it's one of those things where like because it's kind of like the typical thing with any kind of. I mean, this is more of an issue two discussion. We can save it till get there, but otherwise, it's kind of like a lot of these James Bond stories, like the classic ones. It's all very like we got to keep the status quo as it is
Yeah.
because we are obviously right. And being a Westerner living in a capitalistic society, I think we are. Maybe not perfect, but at least we're in the right.
Did you know that in when they were making Star Trek, they in like the first season of Star Trek, they specifically did not talk about like money or
Mm.
politics in that sense because they weren't 100% sure who was going to win the Cold War.
Right, so they didn't want to have it be like, so they didn't want it to be like either a sure thing of like, yeah, America.
Well, they didn't want to be all like, hey, here's democracy works and stuff like that. Like they didn't want to show any of that kind of stuff.
We want to have show it as reruns during our Russian overlords.
Yeah.
They were thinking
But
ahead.
well, that was the idea, that you didn't want to show like, well, what kind of economic power actually was the right choice, basically. So they were kind of like, well, let's not show either. And then when Next Generation came out, then it was after the Berlin Wall had fallen. So then they were like, okay, I think we can make a decision now.
But even so, I mean, Star Trek's always kind of tricky because they have the replicator technology.
Yeah.
So the whole issue, I mean, really, the issue of any kind of not really politics, but any kind of economic system comes from like supply and demand in some form.
Hmm.
So if we have technology that basically, again, from what I could understand, there's really no, what would you call it? Like there's no cost, it seems, or at the very least, super minimal.
Energy cost.
I suppose that would be it, but I'm assuming they have, I guess it's the dilithium crystals or whatever that will help them have like proper
Yeah.
energy. I don't know, whatever made up thing they come up with. But the thing is, with that kind of technology, it does change how the world works.
Hmm.
Because suddenly there's like doesn't really matter if we have all these, all right, let's just replicate some food for everyone. I mean, it doesn't really cost us anything. I mean, everyone gets food now. So it would change.
Communism.
It would change like how we see things or like how the value of things we put. Like, would people have to work as much? Because sure, there might not be as much work now thanks to that,
Yeah.
but you don't need to earn any money because this food is more or less free. It's a weird. I mean, it's a weird philosophical kind of.
Yeah.
But again, who knows? I mean, it might get there in some form. Perhaps not the Star Trek way, but maybe some other method.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're already 20 minutes in and we're still on the first issue. I don't know what else to say about it necessarily. I mean, it's an interesting story. I like the fact that we get to it, like to see what would happen to the other two. I guess they just didn't care about the third guy. It was just like, all right, yeah, he's the collateral damage here.
Or is he?
Oh, come on. Is he also alive? Is that going to be Divinity 3?
Well, you read the last issue, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll discuss it when we get there.
Oh, did I miss something again? Ugh. See, that's one of my problems that I had with this comic, though, is that it is very dense with the
Dialogue?
economic philosophies and the time travel and the all that kind of stuff and all that cosmic shit where I'm just like, oh, come on, where I literally my eyes just glaze over and it's just like, oh, okay, just let's go through it. Let's get through this.
No, that I can agree with, especially once we get to like issue 2, 3, and 4,
Yes.
because it's basically sure there's a fight going on, but it's really more of a Pope in the pool kind of thing.
Yeah, it's more of a verbal thing where they're just talking and then fighting next to each other.
Exactly. I mean, they might as well have sat down at a table and had a a spirited debate.
Right. Right. All right. On to the next issue.
Issue 2. The world has gone topsy turvy, with Russia as the new sole economic and military superpower in the world. To investigate this weird scenario, Ninjak and Ninjal, or Ninja L, investigate Moscow and discover that they have an unseemly amount of gold that could throw the entire world's economy out of balance. Ninja L is found out by Mishka and is erased from existence, with only Ninjak's iris cameras as records of his presence. Unity considers using Divinity against her, and he accepts responsibility. Turns out he was never a prisoner since he could leave at any time. He confronts her, and they fight, Mishka giving us a glance at the sequel to this comic, along with the start of it by having her advise Stalin in 1939.
Oh, is that supposed to be the guy?
At the end, like the mustache guy?
Oh no. Okay, that's not him. Okay.
Oh, you mean like the third guy?
No, the mustache guy is Stalin. What are you
Yes.
talking about?
Yeah, yeah.
No, I'm talking about the third guy. The
Yeah, no. That's in the fourth issue.
okay, because I'm then who's that guy on page 65?
I don't know the big page spread.
Yeah.
Well, these are just like hints at the what's called Divinity 3.
Okay, so that guy there, the guy in yellow and red, is that the third guy?
No. That's basically Soviet Auric.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of like the Superman Red Sun.
Okay.
So it's basically Valiant's version of that in the Divinity 3, which I'm kind of spoiling there.
Wow. Okay. Okay. I love Ninja L. Why does he die?
So what did Ninja L do with his very short presence?
No, but just like we've only seen Ninjak. We've only seen Ninja K. And I would love to see more from the ninjas, especially because it looks like everyone gets to have their own ninja style,
Mm.
right? And his outfit is awesome. Like I love that look.
Yeah,
I
the
mean,
hood is
especially
always nice.
yeah, the blue and it's just like it's beautiful. Also, he has some sort of power.
Are you sure it's a power or a gadget?
Well, I mean, the way that his hand is kind of lighting up and then exploding something out, I don't know. I mean, I would think more power.
It could be like a Psyot. I mean, that'd be kind of cool.
That's what I mean. Power, Sias, something.
And now he never even
And,
existed.
and that sucks. I mean,
Not
why?
even not even killed. It's like no, he that didn't exist.
Because it would be so fun. It would be so interesting to see some more.
I think
I mean,
that's what's going on in the current Ninjak series because it's specifically called Ninja K,
right.
and I think it's about like all the other ninjas.
Okay, that'd be cool.
So I'm guessing it's like Ninja A through K and maybe further.
Well, then there'll be a new Ninja L because they're like, hey, I thought we had a Ninja L. I mean, we have the Ninja M and N and O and P. So where's the okay? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's kind of like I was discussing before.
Yeah.
Now we have this whole thing here where, aha, Russia has the power to do all this stuff, and they do it. The rest of the world be damned.
Yeah.
So, and the thing is, it becomes this weird mix of stuff in terms of what's fair game and what isn't. Because again, we have this really, like out of left field resource here, reality warper. Like, I guess that's, the line we draw in terms of, unfair competition. So, but I don't know, just an interesting thing though for me. Like, it's not really in terms of like, oh, it's an anti-Russian sentiment or something. So it's just this kind of like, yeah, this heck, any government that now has the power to make their own country the greatest, will do things. And in the sense, from what I can tell, except for some of those other like volatile situations we see like in some panels. Like, I'm not sure, was it the previous one or the next one? I remember seeing something where it was like a huge like fight at the like what's called California Mexico border or something,
Mm-hmm.
and other like similar things. Oh, like in some revolution in China.
Some revolution in China.
So, well, it's what it seemed. I mean, it's taking place in the present during all this reality warping. Like, I don't think that Tiananmen Square thing was supposed to be like the Tiananmen Square. I think it's like a new one taking place now.
Yes.
So, but either way, so it's also kind of interesting, when you have like Unity there and they can't really do anything without making it like World War III.
Yeah.
So I even like the whole thing there they mentioned earlier in terms of like, okay, we're technically in outer space, so out of Russian airspace. I don't know, I just love that. It's like, I guess, I guess that makes sense.
I mean, that does, because I mean, this does make sense in some way because does Russia understand that the U.S. or that the other divinity is around? Because
Oh yeah.
well, because the thing is right here. I mean, all she's saying is that here I'm going to come here to make Russia great again, and and what I'm thinking is because basically they got the new weapon without any other country having the deterrent for it.
Mm.
I mean that's always like one of those thoughts that the only reason why there hasn't been a third world war is because of mutually assured annihilation and or mutually assured destruction. Mad, that's the one. And basically because there was no nuclear deterrent for divinity or for this female divinity, um, they just went ahead and did whatever they wanted to because they knew that in the worst case, if America was like, guys, screw you, we're going to send our nukes towards you, they have a superhero that can just stop all the nukes and they can just continue doing their thing. Maybe they wouldn't have done that if they knew that there was another divinity on Earth that would fight.
No, but that's a good point there. I mean, honestly, when I have like a comparison to other characters and such, it's definitely a Doctor Manhattan situation.
Yeah.
So, because within the like Watchmen universe, it's kind of, I mean, beyond like the sci-fi that's present in terms of Doctor Manhattan's creation and what Ozymandias does.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks to Doctor Manhattan, they have like electric cars and such in the comic.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a similar thing there, except I guess Doctor Manhattan doesn't so much change reality as much as he just changes like physics, I guess, the like material world,
Mm-hmm.
and then people just kind of recreate the stuff he discovers, I suppose, in terms of there we go, cold fusion or whatever.
Yeah.
Like I'm not actually doing it all the time now. I just showed you guys how to do it because I can. While with what's called Divinity 2, she's not just doing things within Russia, which I guess would be within their right. Like, oh, she can make all this infertile soil, fertile, and she can like repair all these buildings and create food from nowhere or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that they are, actually collapsing other governments and like economies.
Yeah, and don't think for a second that any country who would get divinity like wouldn't be doing this.
Except Finland.
Yeah, except Finland, of course.
So, is there anyone who did not arm their satellites? Iron Sky reference to those who don't know.
Yeah, which was a Finnish production, so they had to poke fun at themselves.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, if Divinity would have fallen in China and Japan and in the U.S., I mean, obviously, the traditional aggressive countries, I don't think they would blink an eye. I mean, it would be interesting to see what would happen if something like this happened to a more peaceful country like, Finland or the Switzerland. I mean, Finland has never had colonies, Mr. Colonizer over there. For those who don't know the history, Finland used to be owned by Sweden.
It's not a colony if it was ours from the beginning.
It wasn't yours from the beginning.
We burnt your history. You have no proof.
and then Sweden sold Finland to Russia, and then we just left Russia when they had their little revolution there.
They didn't want you anyways.
Yeah, I think they did, because they fought 2 wars to try to get us back. Anyway, but it would be interesting to see what like a smaller country would do with that kind of power. I mean, if they could control the world. I mean, that's the thing. Like, that's why you can never. Anyone with power will abuse it, because they have to be a certain type of person in order to get enough power that that they could change anything with it. You kind of have to be a dick to be able to get all the way up to top of like the political spectrum or whatever. So.
Oh no, certainly. And the thing is, and the sad part is, if you are to have like a humble, restrained leader, who just like, oh hey, Divinity 2, you know what? We've had kind of a bad harvest these past few years. Could you help out here? But there'll be opposing powers who will try to then get a hold of her. I mean, again, not that she's an object that anyone can grab. That she obviously has loyalty to her country. But that's the thing. It's well, it's how those things go. I mean, it's kind of like I think I mentioned the book Guns, Germs, and Steel before on the podcast.
Mm-hmm. I think so. Yeah.
I mean, that kind of seems to be the history of mankind, pretty much. You'll have 2 tribes basically, and whichever tribe discovers a way to kill the other tribe first takes over.
Right.
And it sounds so like awful when it seems to be like that scenario, but it does seem to fit in with most of history, really.
I love that this philosophy is also being used in Dragon Ball Super. Like, there's literally a character. I'm like in the middle of this arc. There's literally a character who is so disgusted with humanity, and because they're just barbarians and they don't deserve to live. I mean, they're like they're not really time traveling, but they can do time traveling. So they literally find this new species that's just growing, like a humanoid species that's growing, and they kind of like his master is kind of like, look, yes, they're barbaric now, but they will grow, and then they go forward to 1,000 years, and they're still kind of like in huts, but now they like have a community, and then someone bumps the other one, and then they just start beating him up and killing him, and then the guy's just like, look, they're all barbarians, they don't deserve to live. And I just think it's so funny that this kind of thing is being shown in Dragon Ball, or being used in Dragon Ball.
Well, it's a classic kind of story, yeah. I mean, can't think of like a specific one right now, but there's a lot of these sort of aliens putting like humanity at trial.
Yeah.
Like heck, like the first episodes of Star Trek Next Generation.
Yeah.
It has. I didn't realize that Q was in the very first episode. I thought he was like a later character.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, he has that same exact thing. Oh, you humans, barbarians. I'm so much better than you guys.
I mean, even what? I mean, well, I guess that's not the same thing that Thanos has, but he also is just pretty much.
No, Thanos is just a communist. He, 50% of everyone, rich and poor. At least he's fair.
Yeah, that's admirable.
I mean, if he was discriminating, like 50% of everyone, so except the beautiful purple people, the purple power forever. No, but that's the thing that, like, I mean, which is part of me. I mean, sorry guys, this Infinity War spoiler here. But I think it was a bit of a. I mean, we'll see with the sequel. But personally, I felt it was a bit of a lost opportunity that after he snaps his fingers, that he doesn't like turn to dust as well with a smile on his face. Because oh my god, you can't even get revenge on the guy. He got what he wanted, and you can't even like kill him in revenge.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried about the sequel. because according to some like photos, like behind the scenes photos, it looks like there might be time travel involved.
Well, I mean, when you have a time stone.
I know, but still, I don't want everything to be all time travel again and everything retrofitted and shit. And
Again, but
okay,
what I'm
okay,
hoping.
last thing. I mean, okay, I'll do my thing and then you do your thing. But one of the worst things that I saw on about this whole Infinity War thing is that the writers of Infinity War were telling some reporter that we should take the deaths seriously because because everyone's just like, well, everyone's going to come back anyway, and it's like, no, you should take the deaths seriously. They're there to stay. And then some people were like just commenting on it, going like, dude, you guys have announced movies already with characters in them that were killed off. Of course they're going to come back. You can't have another Spider-Man movie without Spider-Man.
Oh well, who knows? Maybe because this is my point. Like I think things are gonna come back for the most part, but I kind of hope they do what they usually do, like in DC and well, Marvel hasn't done it the same amount that DC has. But whenever they do a reboot, it's kind of like not. It's always sort of a soft one where like okay, we keep this, but we take away that, and this guy is single again. This guy's dead again. This guy's alive again. And I'm kind of
You know
hope
what it's going to be. You know what it's going to be.
what.
They're going to bring trailers out for like Spider-Man or whatever, and it's going to be Tom Holland, and then like the movie's going to keep like everything's going to happen, and then at some point, without telling anyone, they're going to switch it. They're going to change the video and then just have Miles Morales as Spider-Man.
Oh, I'd have respect for that level of my. I guess trolling would be the work since they are
Yeah,
saying one thing and doing another.
but then it's just going to be him. And everyone's gonna be like, whoops, sorry, alternate universe. Thanos changed everything. Now Miles Morales is Spider-Man. Whoops.
Yeah, I mean,
Anyway, let's get back to Valiant.
well, again, the only thing I'm hoping for is thanks to the Fox buyout. I'm just hoping mutants are part of the universe after everything goes back.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Because that's like, I mean, again, Infinity War was amazing, but part of me
We,
was just a little bit like, oh man, imagine if they had the X-Men rights.
yeah,
Imagine
wouldn't it
Wolverine
be so
there.
great if like Doctor Strange opens up a portal and it's like, we need more help, and then it's like, you called me, bub.
Yeah, and it's snicked.
Snicked. Snicked.
It's snicked and whip. They're like
Yeah,
the
snicked and whoop.
so the important superhero sound effects. No, that's the thing. It just, I mean, it's just like with Smash Bros. Like I can never be satisfied.
Of course you can't.
There's just so many things like, oh, but what if this character? Oh, what if that character? Oh, what if like if they have a
Yeah.
hundred characters in the next Smash Brothers coming out, and like
No, that
only at no, but like let's say they have 100 ones, and only like a very small percentage are like clones or reskins.
mm,
Like even if they have like 100, I'd still be like, oh, but what about that character?
I'm so sorry we're not talking about the comic more, guys.
It is an amazing comic, though. I really.
It is a pretty good comic, yeah.
I mean, last thing which is actually about the comic before going on to issue 3. There's just something very satisfying with the whole thing about them, like Neville's mentioning how they have Divinity locked up,
Yeah.
and it's just something so fun with the way he's like, it took months of planning to keep him contained and pacified, and then I mean, it's basically that whole tempting fate kind of thing.
Yeah, but isn't this such a thing with superheroes though? I mean, it's like the thing with Superman where he just like pops open the handcuffs.
Oh yeah,
I mean, it's just such a thing where it's just like, no, I was letting you do this. Like, I don't know, it's so typical somehow.
yeah, but I feel in this case, I mean, sure, Superman is also all powerful in that, but it's just like a flying brick kind of thing. With
Mm,
Divinity, I don't know, there's this scariness about him, but also then this humbleness. I mean, it's just kind of fun.
yeah,
Like, yeah, I'm not, just I hung out there because I liked being in there, but I see you need my help now, so here I am, without any
right.
fuss.
This episode of Hardcast is sponsored in part by Soviet Lady Liberty. Come see the Soviet Lady Liberty just off Soviet Manhattan. It's just a short Soviet boat trip over to Soviet Liberty Island. Don't question that Lady Liberty predates the hammer and sickle iconography by almost 10 years. Just come on down and spend a good old-fashioned all-Soviet American day at one of our most iconic travel destinations.
You there, American, da? Invest now in Moscow industry and you make pretty penny, da. Risky? Niet. We have many resources that currently put us as the only superpower in the world. Thanks to Comrade Putin and his subjects, we now have perfect control over everything. Invest, yeah? I know, I know. No, sorry for any Russian listeners.
Oh my god.
My apologies to any Russian listeners.
Oh, that was perfect. Issue 3. Abram and Valentina fight through history, discussing political philosophy and how time travel works. Valentina keeps going to important parts of the fall of the USSR and tries to change things, but Abram is there to tell her that's not how it works. She finally goes back to the current time and redistributes all the wealth in the world so that everyone has the same amount of money. And for some reason, the Statue of Liberty is now communist. So this is the part where I kind of just faded away.
I don't blame you.
It got so complicated and just so much stuff going on and just talking about all this weird stuff, and it got so confusing, and they were just, back and forth. I mean, that's the problem when you're like talking to like, or when you're reading about two people that can shape reality, and just I don't know, it's just crazy.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it does get like that because, the first two issues I feel work really well. Be like, okay, we get who she is. Like, even if you haven't read anything before, you can like understand, like, okay, I understand who she is and what she's doing and what's gonna happen now. And issue 2, it makes sense too. Like, okay, so, oh no, we gotta send our guy in. Oh, but he's a loose cannon. That kind of stuff. Like, okay, great, it works. And now, as we were saying earlier, now it's just a big philosophical debate, but over the backdrop of interesting visuals and like fighting and all that.
Yeah, and it's at some point she starts talking about this fairy tale that she read, and it's just like, what? I don't know. And then you see, of course, like the I don't know, because they kept on going through the entire history, and Divinity is just trying to tell her like all the time, like, you can change as much of history as you want, but I'm going to still be there to change it back, right? Is that what they're doing, or is it that she can't change history? Like, because that was the thing that I was just kind of wondering about, because there are moments when he says that whatever we do in history cannot change it. It's so minuscule that we can't actually change anything, no matter how strong we are. But then another point, I think it was later or something like that, he actually specifically says, whenever you go back in time to change something, I will be there to change it back. So now I was confused, like, well, what happened then? And then also, something must have worked, because then when they went back to Manhattan in the now, the Statue of Liberty had the hammer and sickle in her hand. So technically it worked?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think they got a bit confusing. Any listeners who know it fully, feel free to explain it to us in any of our many social media. But because I'm right now on the page spread about the pages.
Yeah, exactly, right?
And I kind of like the idea there. It almost reminds me a bit of Reverse Flash.
Mm-hmm.
How he can't kill Barry Allen because if he does, he disappears. So he settles for being petty.
Right.
It was me, Barry. So, but I don't know. It just because it feels like they're giving some very set rules, which is great because then we know then we know how it works, and then we can like play with it and understand
Mm-hmm.
then why something was broken later.
Mm-hmm.
And in general, I like the idea there. Like, yeah, we can, we kind of can live at things throughout here, but we can only focus on one page, and we can never truly change what's happened, but maybe obscure things, make it more vague. Like, it's all kind of cool. Kind of gives it this sort of a little bit of you're having your cake and eating it too. Like, yes, we can do the thing, but not too much of the thing,
Right.
which is like great. It explains why we can't just solve everything. As she was trying to do there. Why not just kill all awful people and as when they were babies?
Right.
So
But
and
that's what I mean. So, but then they went back into Manhattan after their whole fight thing. Well, she was constantly talking to, like, I mean, she was talking to Khrushchev, telling him to not to stand his ground, and and then she tries to stop the Berlin Wall from falling, but it didn't help. And then she's in front of some house. I don't even know who that is. Is that Abram?
I'm assuming so. I mean,
Right?
he
But there's
steps out of it.
yeah, and then they go to Manhattan, and suddenly everyone's communist. Like, what? How? And I mean, because the way that it looked, I mean, when she redistributed all the money in the world, is that after everyone was already communist, or is it at it is because it doesn't look like that was the consequence that led to everyone being communist. Because she can't just redistribute the wealth, and then suddenly the Statue of Liberty becomes uh hammer and sickle.
So yeah, no, I mean, again, I think part of the issue is because we had a similar discussion with the first volume of Divinity,
You know,
where we're not entirely sure about how his powers work. Like, well, not how his powers work. We know that it's from that sort of alien presence thing.
but what the boundaries are.
Well, yeah, like what is he doing? Is it like a psychological thing? Is it a hallucination?
Mm.
Is he actually physically changing things, or is it sort of all temporary? It only exists while he thinks about it. Like with Doctor Manhattan in Watchmen, that for me made sense. Like, yeah, no, he can change. Well, he can't change the laws of physics, but he can control them.
Well, he can change matter.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So as the comedian says, he could have turned a bullet into bubbles or into
Yeah.
glass or whatever. And that's the thing, but it makes sense. Like, it's all about just the human mind controlling this. But here, I agree. It's like, okay, are they time traveling, or is this in the future and now she's making communist? It is very confusing. I mean, I like the visuals. I like the sort
Yeah,
of
me too.
feel of it all.
And obviously, the idea of Lady Liberty being communist is a huge image, right? That's something that you want to end a comic on,
Oh yeah.
obviously. But I just don't think if you're actually looking at it critically, it doesn't necessarily make sense, like how it happened, because everyone you're constantly just the entire comic. We have Divinity telling Divinity 2, you cannot change history in any significant way, and then we come to the present, and history has changed in a significant way.
Mm.
And so, yeah, I mean, the only thing I can think of is that she's basically just telling him that she embraces her own strength, which leads me to believe that she can change history. It's just that Divinity hasn't, tried to use enough of his strength to change history. So he believes that they don't have the power to do that. But she's like, no, 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 hold my beer. And then she's just like goes in. I mean, like that's the whole thing. Like he's saying that we may have the power of gods, but it is paired with the minds of mortals. And she's basically saying, fuck that. I'm gonna let it just flow through me. And so that's why I'm kind of thinking, like, well, what is the right thing now?
I have no real answer.
But honestly, it doesn't even matter because in issue 4, it's all over anyway.
Well, it's kind of what you'd have. I mean, as cool as it would be to have these things be permanent, in terms of like, oh wow, wonder what's happening now in the next Faith volume.
Yeah, it's no longer Hollywood. It's like,
We do not relish in these capitalist decadence. We only make
right.
propaganda films here.
Well, would you need to make propaganda films if the entire world was communist?
Mm, well, I mean, if it's magical communism like with her, where everyone just is, I guess not.
Well, but even then, I mean, we don't have any propaganda films about democracy. Well, actually,
It depends on what you consider.
yeah,
I mean
there
that,
are a
that
lot of pro-American movies out there.
yeah, but even beyond the pro-American stuff, I mean, anytime you have like an American cartoon, for example, with school election episode,
Oh yeah,
again,
but they
depending on
just really suck the dick of democracy on that. Like, it's so crazy. Just like, you have to vote. It's your right, and you need to do it.
so yeah, no, I mean, I think it's a fair thing to portray in that sense. I mean, but it's more about the way it's done in that sense, and I do tend to
Yeah.
prefer the more cynical takes on it. Like the South Park episode on it.
Vote or die, motherfucker. Vote or die.
Gonna put a bullet in your eye. So yeah, no, but that's the thing. It's I don't know. I mean, going on a more personal level here. I like voting because yay, I can. Like not in terms of, oh wow, is there so many people in the world who can't vote? It's more like, sweet, I'm old enough to vote. I mean,
I don't
no, I
know.
mean, I do think about this choice, not like just like okay, alphabetical order.
Well, I mean, for me, I don't know because I don't necessarily. I mean, like with for example, the American voting system is so difficult if you're not living in America.
Mm.
Like, I haven't voted in the last 2 elections in America
So it was
because
your fault.
yeah,
Oh man, it only had
because
one more vote from Germany, but okay.
first of all, the foreign votes almost never get voted, get actually counted. By the way, and secondly, it's so hard. I tried like for Obama's second election, I tried multiple times to register to vote here, and then they would like write back and say like all right, okay, we still need this and this paper, we still need your social security number and this and that and the other thing, and then I'll send it, and then it takes like 3 weeks to come back, and then they're like, all right, well, we still need another thing. I was like, okay, well, am I registered now? I mean, the election's soon. I mean, like the deadline to the election is soon. And then at some point they just stopped replying, and I was just like, all right, fuck it. I mean, the Finnish election is just so much better. I just go to the consulate and vote. Like, they're like, because I literally get the voting papers from my country sent to me. Like, they're like, here are your voting papers. You can read them through. You can even, you can just check it all out. You can just read where you want to, what you need to do, and then you just walk into the office, show your ID, show your piece of paper. They say, all right, great, go behind the wall, vote for the guy that you want or the gal that you want, and then just throw it in a box. You're done.
Yeah.
So I voted for every single election in America, but not for every single election in Finland, but not in America because it's way too complicated to actually get it done. It's ridiculous.
That's the kind of thing, and that's something I really enjoy. Like I remember, can't remember which Indian election it was. If it was the latest one or one prior to that. But I loved all the stories of how they were like sending voting like booths off into like all these far off like villages and stuff,
Yeah.
just to make sure everyone got to vote.
Yeah.
And it's like, yes, thank you. Like that's the point of the whole thing, right?
Yeah. You need to make it simple. I mean,
And
I doubt that there
available.
are, yes, and I doubt that there are so many Americans living in um in Germany or like in Munich that you can't just have this place. Like, yeah, if you want to, you can send it in, right? Like usually, but if you want to, just come to the consulate and just do it. I mean, again, well, maybe it is a little bit different because you have entire security. I mean, I love how the Finnish embassy here, or like the consulate, is not an embassy. The Finnish consulate here is literally just an office. Like there's no security, nothing. You just ring a doorbell and you go inside. And I think most embassies are like that if they're not in some sort of political
Well,
whatever.
yeah, I mean, if you're
But
like Israel, for example, I
yeah,
mean, good
but I mean
lord,
the American.
we had a what's called an Israeli school built right next to my international school in Chile,
Oh yeah, cool.
and oh, it was so depressing the way it was built because
Yeah,
ours was like very open, very like colorful,
yeah,
and theirs almost looked like a prison just to protect the students
yeah,
inside.
yeah,
Like
yeah. I mean the
gray,
American
large
consulate.
walls, like
Oh
Jesus.
Jesus. Ugh.
I mean, again, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I
Maybe
mean
it was fine inside, you know. I mean, I'm sure it was fancy,
yeah.
but it was just like, wow, damn, like the cost of security, like not the
Mm,
financial one, but the I guess the
yeah.
psychological one or something.
Yeah, I mean the American embassy here was also just I think there's like 2 or 3 armed guards with like machine guns patrolling the entire time, and yeah.
Freedom
Anyway,
isn't free.
you've got to pay a hefty fucking fee.
We finish off this commie sci-fi tale with the two demigods looking back into Mishka's past and finding some good with her having received her necklace as a gift. Mishka is now a farmer, growing crops and living a more or less normal life, only to hear the voice of Casimir hinting at the presence of a future story. We also see that it seems Divinity actually tricked her from the start by putting himself in as the street vendor, giving her the necklace. So again, that's what I'm saying there. Like in this on page 130, when she's growing her crops, she hears a voice, and the voice says, "Comrade Casimir."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I mean, I was just thinking that's just a voice. I mean, it's not. I don't know. Does that mean anything?
I'd say so. Like either it's inside of her, like maybe when it like entered like when they traveled or something, maybe it somehow like got connected into her or something,
Yeah.
or maybe he is now more of a force or something like that. So again, it doesn't really. I mean, obviously it matters, but I think it's just supposed to be this sort of like vague little hint because I think it was quite a while between these books,
Okay.
like between Divinity 2 and Divinity 3. So, which I am looking forward to because I haven't read those yet.
They can't just let it end. They just have to always put another thing.
Which is kind of nice though.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I read a really nice analysis of the first Galactus story of Fantastic Four. So, which was like it was a really big thing at the time because it was 3 issues long. And I just love that. That was like amazing. Like, wow, 3 issues of the same story. And now we have like here 4 issues of the same story in one volume. But the interesting thing there was the third issue of the story of the arc. It doesn't end with the defeat of Galactus. Like he's beaten like halfway through the story, and then the rest of the other half of it is just the aftermath and just setting up for future stories.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, but I kind of like the way the analysis of it went. I can't remember. I can't remember who it was. Might have been this one website. I think it's called Comic Book 101 or something. I haven't read that site in ages, but they had an interesting take on it in terms of yeah, because that's real life. When we win a war or win an election or lose any of those things, we don't just stop. Like we don't have this like oh now we stopped here at this good moment and everything is fine. Like everything always like trickles into something else.
Yeah.
Like any big event sows the seed for a future event. So and I kind of I feel it makes sense. I mean, especially again since they were free of the cosmonauts. And then I believe I don't know anything about this other volume, but I know there's another book that's come out after Divinity 3 called Eternity.
Okay.
We're gonna go through all the itty words. So, but I don't know, it's kind of cool. I like this sort of like language theme going into these cosmic books. I mean, again, I guess there's a limit before it gets silly. I guess they can just have like insanity and What's it called? I can't think of anything right now. I guess that's it. That's the
Like,
sequel to Eternity Insanity. That's the
yeah,
only other
yeah,
word.
that's just it. You just have brevity. Just like it's really short. It's like half an issue.
Brevity is wit. A joke I never understood from The Simpsons.
I don't get it.
No, it's the slogan for this magazine called Reader's Digest. So in the Simpsons episode, and I didn't know what the joke was about having that brevity dot 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 is wit, and then I found out that it's an abbreviation of a Shakespeare quote called "Brevity is the soul of wit." So
Uh,
they're even more like witty by shortening it even further.
okay, okay.
So see that Shakespeare in classic Simpsons. You can't get a joke unless you read Shakespeare. So, but regarding the end of the story though,
Yeah.
because I'm not entirely because it kind of because that can't have been like I mean it's the usual thing with time travel and all that where it gets kind of confusing. But the original person who gave her that necklace can't have been Abrams, can it? Because aren't they
No,
supposed to be
because they
about the same
were.
age?
Yes, that's what I thought too. Actually, we could check that, couldn't we?
Oh, like in terms of year?
Yeah, because then they actually gave the year, right?
Let's see. Yeah, 59 when she's like this young girl here.
59, right? So why don't you check how old he was?
Do you still have like the old Divinity one, or does it pop
I
up here?
do. Should let me just check? I think I have it.
Because I don't know. I mean, because he's given to that house as a baby, though. So I don't think he was kicked out at some point and had to live on the street.
Ooh, I don't have Divinity 1.
But but you understand what I mean, though. Like he was he was up to adoption, like at the door.
Yeah, in 1941.
But the thing is, like he was at a house, he was in a house and stuff. I don't think he was kicked out and then joined like the state.
What are you talking about?
Well, assuming it's true that it was Abrams all along who was the street vendor. I don't think it really makes sense because he, as a baby, he was put in that basket and like up for adoption at that house. And then from there, he kind of had his like life set up for him as a servant to the state.
Well, he could it could be him because he would be at least 18 at the time.
So then she would be a bit younger than that, so in her
Yes.
teens or like early teens or something.
So he was dropped off in 1941 and it's 1959 is when they meet.
Okay, I guess in that sense, it's not an impossible thing, but I think that's the thing, though. I think it is a fake. Like it is him
Yeah.
manipulating her based on the
Yeah, I think so
captions.
too. Yeah, I think so too.
Because memory is a funny thing. It defines us, defines our story. But time erases some of the story. Failing memory and progress change our perception. And sometimes a ghost, sometimes a warm breath on cold glass, just strong enough to go back and change history. So I get that impression, and in that sense, it makes it kind of fun too, because it's always cool when you have something before the time travel starts.
Mm-hmm.
If you have something then that's kind of a result of the time travel, doing the whole stable time loop thing. Because the necklace is brought up in the first issue. As she mentions, yeah, I don't quite remember, but it's very important. But I'm assuming then perhaps she never had that necklace in the first timeline, so to speak. Like that was never present, maybe. Like maybe it was just like the whole thing with the original street vendor. But then Abrams, in an attempt to then get her from to stop, like changing the world,
Yeah.
he changed enough of the past. Yes, that's just a vague smudge, I guess. If we're gonna go by the page thing,
Mm-hmm.
vague enough that she kind of reconsiders her whole life.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Which, again, a good thing because she was destroying the world, at least the Western world. But also at the same time, it feels a bit like, oh, that's kind of dishonest. Like the only way you won was to trick her, lying.
Wasn't that technically how they beat Divinity in the first place? By tricking him too?
Sorta.
I mean, that's kind of what you need to do in order to defeat something like that. You have to trick them.
True. I don't know. I mean, it's for me. It depends on the scenario. Like usually you have like that kind of setup, like the whole Odysseus and the Cyclops, where it's more about like the small, brainy guy, and then the large, stupid strong guy,
Mm-hmm.
and that's like how you trick. Yes, you're smarter. But here it's not so much that the other person is dumber or something. It's more sort of equals. Then in a moment of weakness, the good guy then takes advantage of the bad guy.
Yeah.
And again, it's not, it's a good thing he did it. It's not bad, but it's, I don't know, it just, I'm not gonna say it's a hollow victory, but I don't know, it just feels a little off. Either way, just a really cool, yes, a really cool addition and concept for the Valiant universe. And like I've said, even though he's supposed to be sort of an analog to Solar from the original series,
Okay.
well, in terms of having like a reality warper, but it's just so cool, and I like seeing that stuff. I like it when they're adding new things to the universe that weren't present, because it just makes the world more alive. Because otherwise, like assuming like this Valiant publishing lasts like forever, or at least long enough. I don't want it to just be constant regurgitation of Exo Manowar and Ninjak and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, of course.
It's again, I want it to be done well too. I don't want them just to come up with something new for the sake of it.
Well, I mean, I think we have another thing to worry about than just them regurgitating the same ideas. Now with the new owners of the
Mm.
of the company
Gonna be interesting to see, because I don't think anything has happened with the comics yet.
yet.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. I don't know like how far these things are planned, and because I know they like plan these comics like a way ahead of time, so probably we might not even see like a true effect until maybe a year from now. Of like suddenly like, that's kind of interesting. Suddenly the comics are a lot more like this, or
Yeah.
but there's just one little thing I want to add to, because did you read those like commentaries?
No.
I just want to mention the last one here at issue 4, because it's by the artist. And I just love the difference between the commentary between the other three, who were the writer, the colorist, and letterer. Because I don't know, like just the first page here on page 135, like it's such an artist talking here. Well, here it is, the clash of ideologies over Times Square. Awesome. And he's like, so it was totally worth it. The fun continues.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I just love the way it's written, because it's just, I don't know. Like the writer is a lot more like, yes, I'm doing very like this, and this represents that, and this ideology. Blah, blah, blah. It's like very fancy and very like, and the artist is just kind of like, oh, this is so cool. More ass kicking. I
Yeah.
have nothing to add here, so I'm going to draw everyone's attention to the remarkable inks that Ryan's turned in onto this page. I don't know. I just love it. It's so much
Yeah, that's
fun.
pretty cute. Yeah.
Like, because I mean, I like the other writings too, especially Matt Kent, because, being the writer, it's kind of interesting hearing like how he planned things out and why he did things the way he did. But I don't know, I just like the contrast.
All right. Anything else to add?
Well, if we want to give it a score in that sense,
Oh yeah.
I mean, again, this isn't quite the same as the other series. This one is like very on and off.
Mm-hmm.
But definitely, if you read like Divinity 1, definitely read this one. It's just a continuation of it.
Yeah, definitely.
So, green light, as we were discussing with that.
Yep.
And I don't know, I'm kind of between 4 and 5 stars, because I think I'll kind of
Yeah, I'm
stick
giving
to
it
four,
a
because there
4.
were a
Yeah.
few with the confusion we were talking about.
Yeah, the confusion is pretty, yeah,
Like I don't mind
confusing.
it, but it still kind of feels like I don't quite get what's going on, like what the rules are.
Yep, definitely.
So and yeah, and you saw the page there for what's called coming this December, which has already come, but Divinity 3.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Looking forward to that. It's just fun
It's
with
gonna
things like that.
it's gonna be a while though, right?
Let me have a quick look.
Yeah, it's 90. Yeah, it's gonna be episode 97.
Oh, but it is on the list, though. Okay.
Yeah. Our list goes up to 100. Foreshadowing.
Damn.
Anyways, you can discuss this episode on Reddit. You can tweet us or you can follow us on Facebook. Also, all of our episodes are available on our hosting site, Podbean. Links are in the show notes. Catch us next time for
Faith, Volume 2, California Scheming.
California Scheming. California, home of the scheming. California.